adults need to know how to play also. Teamwork. Teamwork is something that we want to focus on also in the parks and in recreation. Yes, many of us participate in individual sports, but often there's someone else involved. And how you develop the ability to work effectively in a team has a lot to do with what you do day to day on your jobs. Very few of us, well, more now, but few of us have jobs where we work independently. You always have to work with someone else. And I think recreation has a lot to do with developing good teamwork. The thing I would like to focus on in relationship to recreation is fair play. The children will teach us how to play fair. Although they may watch us and take some of our bad habits, if children will do what you ask them to do, we have to be very clear in our direction with children about what it is we want them to do, because they really do want to succeed. They want to do what it is we ask them to do. So we have to be very clear in how we speak to them, and they will resolve the issue. If you say don't fight or don't do blah, 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 they will do that. And I really didn't understand that until I really started watching my son when he was a child. And I said, well, why is he doing this to myself? And then I would replay in my mind what it was I asked him to do. And I realized I wasn't clear. He was doing exactly what I asked him to do. And so I just say, if we want to encourage fair play, good play, balanced play, good teamwork, and we want to know how to play, recreation must be a part of our life.
Thank you, Rochelle. This person that's going to get up now, I don't know exactly how I could say enough about him. He's such a fine man. Grew up adjacent to Theodore Wirth Park. It was called Glenwood then. And what he said to me the first time I met him meant so much to me that I've asked him to speak here today. W. Harry Davis.
Thank you very much. The first thing I'd like to do is to thank the Wirth family for giving me a chance to grow up to be an adult. A place to play, mix with other children, and have a good time. Some of the things I may say today may shock some people here because we have such a great reputation. Minneapolis has a great reputation in terms of human relations and things of that sort. I know I served 21 years on the Minneapolis School Board. So visiting all the schools and parents and so forth, you have a chance to understand the child's need in education. I was born at 711 Lyndale Avenue North, April 12, 1923. A long time ago. Time has passed. To identify that place, it's Olson Highway, 55 and 94. Now, some of you are old enough to remember the Depression days. Anybody here remember the Depression days? You know, there wasn't too much. And Minneapolis, actually, if we recognize it or not, we're not run by the city itself. It was run by gangsters and racketeers that were all up and down 6th Avenue, from Penn all the way to 7th Street. And I was raised in that area where you saw gangsters, racketeers, speakeasies. Alcohol was forbidden. But you would find bootlegging joints, and we lived in that area. When we went to school, Sumner School, corner of Aldrich, Bryant and 6th Avenue, Olson Highway, was the first place that I started. Well, I started school at Michael Dowling School, but went to Sumner School. But in that neighborhood of vice and crime, and you see it every day as you went to school, and you saw all of the illegitimate things going on while you were playing. Thank God for Sumner Field, a park that had playgrounds, that had teeter-totters, swings. It had a bandstand for bands to play and entertain. It had baseball, football, basketball, can-can, skating rinks, tennis courts, where we could go because there was a settlement house. And I'm sure many of you remember the old settlement houses. There were 11 of them in the city of Minneapolis. They're no longer settlement houses anymore. They call them settlement houses. All through the day they call them community centers. But the settlement house had everything. It had room for homeless people. It had food, shelters, and so forth. But it had a nursery school started in 1929. The first charter in the state of Minnesota, preschool. Now that started in 29 at Phyllis Wheatley, which was one of the neighborhoods. That was the neighborhood house that I was involved with. Like many other neighborhood houses, the others had camps where they could go in the summer. We didn't have a camp. But we had something very similar to camp because we'd have day camp here at Theodore Wirth Park. We called it Glenwood at that time. We would go swimming over at the lake at Glenwood Park. We would have picnics. We could play horseshoe and tennis and basketball and everything over at that park. We had a game called the Snipers. And during the evening, the adult trainers would take us into the woods and say, you wait here with that bag and your flashlight, and a sniper will come. Well, some of you tried that game, so you should. We were there a long time and got pretty angry. But then the wintertime. What did we do during the wintertime? Sure, we'd go to Phyllis Wheatley, we'd play basketball, we'd have clubs, we'd go to the library, and we did many things. But we'd come out here to Theodore Wirth Park, out by the golf course, where there were 2 ski jumps, one large one and one small one. We'd slide down the hill on the toboggan and the sleds. And as we got a little older, 13 or 14 years old, that's when you know when people dare you to do something, and that you'll do it. Well, it was a stupid thing to accept the dare. But we went down the smaller ski jump on a toboggan. And as it whipped off the top, it broke half in 2. There were the 3 of us down in the snow. We didn't get hurt, but thank God we didn't. But coming here on Plymouth Avenue was a streetcar. Any of you remember the old streetcars? They weren't as pollutant as the buses are today, so you didn't have to worry. But Glenwood, but Olson Highway, it would come all the way down almost to the park. And on Glenwood, it would come right down into the park by the pavilion. Tokens where you could get a number of them for 35 cents. So it probably only cost you a nickel to go from here almost all the way to St. Paul, because the streetcars are like that. But the people at Phyllis Wheatley, the staff at Phyllis Wheatley, during the summertime would put us on the bus, on the streetcars, and take us out to Theodore Wirth Park, where we had day camp. And we would stay there all day. We would go swimming, we'd play volleyball, we'd play all kinds of games. And then, of course, it come time for instructions. And they had adults that were mentors and teachers there to help us with our English and our math. And, of course, we went through that. They also had their Roy Wilkins and Whitney Young. You don't know them. But they were very active in the National NAACP. That changed Minneapolis. That changed Minneapolis. Because little do you know that Sumner Field Housing Project that was started in 1937, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 37, Olson Highway to 11th Avenue, Aldridge to Emerson. Sumner Field Housing Project, now this is Minnesota, was segregated. The black people lived on the Bryant side, the white people lived on the DuPont side. Minneapolis, Minnesota. But we could come to any park we want to, regardless of the color of your skin, and have fun. So the parks were always the beginning where you could have fun with your families, learn something, and then, of course, they were strict in treating and offering assistance to people of all colors. So the parks have been a big part of a lot of lives here in Minneapolis, because it gave us a chance to have fun as kids. It gave us a chance to understand and learn how to swim. I remember that when I became 16 years old, I took my first junior life saving, and I went through that over at Theodore Wirth Park Lake. It was called Glenwood then. And that was quite an achievement to get a junior life-saving badge. So I would serve as, for the younger children, I would serve as the lifeguard while they swam. But when you think of Theodore Wirth and the beauty that he brought along the drive from here to Cedar Lake, then all the way over to Lake of the Isles, over to Calhoun and Lake Harriet. It's beautiful. I don't think I've been around many cities, but I don't think I've ever seen a city with the beauty in its parkway system and the way it's kept and the way it's operated and how green the grass is. It looks as nice as any of the professional golf courses. That's public, that's for everybody. And it made us understand that there was a chance to move on and to gain and to be somebody, because Phyllis Wheatley, the park system, the school system, taught us that we were people and citizens, even though the color of our skin was different. So thanks to Theodore Wirth Park, the family, you gave me a chance to grow up and to be somebody without going to the reform schools or going to prison. But to tell people that they need help, to ask for it, and to be there to help them. And I think that that's what Theodore Wirth Park did. It's not only taught me, but many of us in the North Side neighborhood. We all went to Sumner School, Lincoln School, Franklin School, North High School, but this was always the focal point of all our recreation and entertainment. So thank you for listening, and I hope that I didn't upset you any by telling that Minneapolis wasn't always that nice city that we think we have right now. Actually, you see, when I was on the Minneapolis School Board, I served on the Minneapolis School Board from 1969 to 1989. And we were ordered by the court to desegregate the schools. Now, you would say the schools in Minneapolis are not segregated.